It was like, whoa. I got a call at 5:30 in the morning, and I saw who it was, and it was a friend. And he said, Gene passed away last night.
Tell me it's not true. Tell me it's not true. I'm still in denial.
He was somebody who appeared invincible.
Diagnosed on a Sunday, gone on a Wednesday. It was surreal.
It was really, really hard. None of us were able to say goodbye.
It is tough, and he will always be in my heart. But it's also comforting to know that so many people loved him and that he touched so many people's lives.
We're here to celebrate his life. Greatest person I believe I've ever known. First, I saw him on TV in the Super Bowl versus the Packers. This brash, young offensive guard, just talking. And he never stopped.
He just had this undeniable inner strength about him. In fact, I heard Gene over the years referred to by a lot of nicknames, but the name that came so often to mind for me was the Governor.
Somebody said, why do they call him the Governor? He said, because he never shut up. He was always talking.
I think he was a natural-born leader. He's the kind of person that instills confidence in people.
He led the Players Association in every capacity you can have. Alternate player, executive committee, president, executive director during a 40-year period. So the modern NFLPA was created under the leadership of Gene Upshaw.
I represent the players because of a commitment to the cause and what they stand for.
He was the one person responsible for securing the unfettered freedom of NFL players.
It was 1986. I get a phone call. Hey, boy, it's Uppy. I need you. We're going to do it. And I said, do what? And he said, free agency. We got to do it. If we don't do it this time, we're never going to do it.
He used to keep, when he was negotiating, in the pocket of his suit jacket, a piece of cotton.
I remember seeing these little tufts of cotton in the house, in his closet.
He come from a very humble background in Robstown, Texas, where we had a good home. We had a good father, good mother. That's very important for keeping everything together.
His parents taught him to be honest, to be respectful. That little cotton ball was a reminder of his Texas days.
And how difficult it was to accomplish and achieve what he accomplished.
Well, if Gene walked into a room, he commanded attention and respect.
He's all bark, no bite, but I wouldn't want to be sitting across from him on a negotiation table.
There was no person who could walk in a room who's a Hall of Fame player with the intelligence, with the knowledge, and people, they couldn't handle it. He'll just say things that's so off the cuff, you know, and it shocks people, but then people go, well, hey, that makes sense.
He would use this on our side of the table and say, don't let your alligator mouth overload your hummingbird ass, which means don't talk bigger than you can deliver.
He was almost always late to arrive. I could also count on him to try to explain why he was late.
And Gene was one who never wanted to get bogged down in details. He just said, don't worry, I'll see you when I see you.
You would hear him before you would see him, because he would get off the elevator and just announce, hey, the hell y'all doing? Get back to work. And they would be like, yes, it's Gene.
Aaron, what are you doing?
You all right today? You want to do some work? All right, be getting out of here early.
Boy, pick your feet. I can't do an impression.
Huh?
What are you two doing together again? I don't like that.
Gene went through the battles and went through a number of wars that no executive director of the NFL Players Association should ever have to go through.
There were some rough years in the mid-'80s, early '80s.
So by June or July of every year, we'd go completely flat broke.
My first paycheck, the controller at that time said to me, if everybody cashes all these checks, they're going to bounce. So can you hold on to it?
I think when Gene came in, he understood what we had to do.
I think he was an innovator, having the foresight to create Players, Inc.
Because he knew that was what was going to help make the union stronger. The deeper our pockets were, the longer we could sustain bargaining, litigation, then the more we were going to accomplish.
Gene took over a bankrupt, basically, organization and grew it into, hundreds of millions of dollars.
It has now put us in a position where we don't run the union and we don't fight legal battles with any of our players' dues.
I know that the man, to his dying day, was trying to do what was right for players.
He wakes up in the morning, put 2 feet on the floor. What's the work? Who do we have to help?
I have to think that one of the things that contributed to his ill health in his later years was how much it bothered him that there were former players out there saying that he didn't care about them.
He was actually taken down by his own, and from the time he played, where they thought he was in it more for today's player. I think what they failed to acknowledge was collective bargaining. You represent active employees. He brought football into the modern era. He certainly enriched every player's life like no one ever has.
If a player called him and needed something, he would pull out his personal checkbook and write a check.
He didn't tell me that he was taking care of somebody or he had done something. He just went out and did it. That's who he was.
It was a Super Bowl where Gene was being recognized as one of the top football players from the state of Texas. And I remember Earl Campbell came into the press conference in a wheelchair from his spinal condition. And it blew Gene's mind. And you could tell it bothered him, like, how can we miss a man like this? He said, you need to get checked out. Matter of fact, here, take this number and call Mickey Yars Davis, and we're gonna take care of you. And so that right there sent another message to me, like, wow, you know, right in the middle of a celebration, I gotta figure out a way to get him some help.
He wanted to fix everything, but he knew he couldn't. He tried. I mean, we started whittling away at the list, you know, and started working on it for years and years at a time. But I think that's what hurt him the most, to see players suffer.
Gene Upshaw, for me, was a guy that I went to. There are times when, as a coach, you're down. Things aren't going right. And whenever that happened, I would go talk to Uppy.
When I think about the NFLPA, you have to associate it with Gene Upshaw. I'm not sure many people can separate the two.
He's just one of those remarkable men that you can't duplicate.
I miss his voice. I miss his presence and his conversations.
Gene Upshaw was a great man. He was my friend and he was my brother. I'll never forget him. And I'll say to you, Uppy, I'll miss you.
There are times when I walk by the statue downstairs, and I'm pretty clumsy, so if I happen to trip, I always imagine that I hear Gene, pick your damn self up, you know, get up off the floor.
You can hear his voice in your head if you're quiet. His presence is everywhere, even though he's not physically here.
Gene, we laughed with you, we learned from you, we leaned on you, and we loved you. And therefore, you left us with the best memories. Thanks for those memories, my friend. And by the way, don't worry. I'll see you when I see you.